Hello and welcome to Writing America, Pages and People. If you're here to learn about an American author and some of their works, then you're in the right place. My name is Rachel Rigolino and I'm an instructor in the English department at the State University of New York at New Paltz. So come on, we'll watch this video and leave some comments below.
Hi everyone. Today we're looking at Louisa May Alcott, an author you probably associate with Little Women, but whose full literary life is far more complex and fascinating than many readers realize. To understand Alcott's place in American literature, we need to see her not only as a children's writer, but as a woman shaped by 19th century reform movements, literary experimentation, and economic necessity as well. Born in 1832 to the transcendentalist philosopher Bronson Alcott and Abigail May, Louisa grew up in Concord, Massachusetts, which at that point was a hub of American intellectual life. Her father's close ties to thinkers like Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, and you can see them in the illustration here, meant that Louisa was steeped in idealism from an early age. But despite this rich intellectual environment, the Alcotts lived on the edge of poverty, and Louisa began earning money early on to support her family. And that sense of financial responsibility shaped her career in significant ways. Alcott's most famous novel, Little Women, was published in 1868, and it changed the landscape of American juvenile fiction. Based loosely on her own family, the novel follows the lives of four sisters. We have Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy. And it reflects both the hardships and the warmth of her own upbringing. What made Little Women so groundbreaking wasn't just its realism or relatability, but the way it offered a distinctly, I would say, American vision of girlhood, one that was rooted right in being domestic and caring about the home, but also in ambition, education as well. But Alcott wasn't just Jo March, her main protagonist in Little Women. She also wrote, and this is interesting, Gothic thrillers under the pseudonym A.M. Barnard. Now these stories were filled with passion, revenge, and I would say psychological intensity. And these works, many of which were rediscovered in the 20th century, challenged the perception of Alcott as merely a wholesome children's author. In fact, they show a writer who experimented with genre and with voice and audience, often navigating the line between personal conviction and commercial demand. Now, one especially striking example is A Whisper in the Dark, which is a very long short story or / novella. It was first published anonymously in 1863, but later on Alcott did release it under her name. In this story, Alcott explores female rage, madness, confinement, and, literary scholar Lynette Carpenter has argued that, quote, the text should be viewed as a battleground, not only for its characters, but perhaps for the author as well. And Carpenter's essay, she highlights the tension between Alcott's kind of impulse towards emotional honesty, but weighed against the social expectation of the time. So the story, a lot of critics have said the story kind of prefigures the Yellow Wallpaper, if you're familiar with that story, and it reminds us that Alcott's vision could be as dark and transgressive as it was domestic and comforting. Now, Another essential part of her legacy is her engagement with social reform, and she was a nurse during the Civil War, and her hospital sketches at collections really gives us a realistic, kind of raw at times portrayal of that experience. She was also an advocate for women's suffrage and female independence. And in work, A Story of Experience, she explored the economic and emotional realities of single women trying to support themselves. And interestingly, in this, of course, she was drawing upon her own experiences working as a teacher. She was a governess. She also, I think, was a seamstress as well. Before I end this video, I'd like to leave you with two thoughts. First, Little Women deserves to be read not just as a sweet coming-of-age story about four sisters, though it is enjoyable, especially when you're younger, to just read it that way. But I would argue it's actually a pretty complex work of American literature. You know, it offers a powerful narrative of self-creation, especially for women. And Jo March is not a stock heroine. You know, she's imaginative, rebellious, and readers have long enjoyed watching Jo as she navigates pressures to conform while trying to remain true to herself. And seen this way, Little Women becomes not just a sentimental favorite, but a compelling novel about personal freedom and ethical growth. I think second, we need to see Louisa May Alcott not only as the author of a beloved children's classic, but as a bold writer who crossed literary boundaries in ways that were radical for her time. She wrote Gothic thrillers full of rage and suspense under a pseudonym. She tackled gender roles and mental illnesses in stories like A Whisper in the Dark. And she wove her experiences with war and poverty into her fiction and into her more autobiographical sketches. So, recognizing that range helps us appreciate just how much Alcott contributed to American literature, far beyond the works that she has become famous for. So, she is deserving of our attention, and I am so excited to reintroduce her to many of you. See you next time.